bases dropped on a Tuesday edition of Soccer Down Here. Oh, boy. Tuesday thoughts. We will be taking them on Twitter at Soccer Down Here, on email, soccerdownhere@gmail. Also, we'll be taking them on the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/Soccer Down Here. Thanks to everybody who joins us on Twitch. Thanks to everybody who has subscribed on Twitch. Thanks to everybody who helps us kind of keep going and doing our thing and getting riled up about MLS disciplinary committee and doing a little bit of research. And it's hard because this stuff isn't readily available as to how it works, who's on it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of different comments coming up about some of the disciplinary committee folks as well. Some of them we can't have in the chat, just saying. It's lots of things going on a Tuesday morning. We got a game to talk about from last night, New York City and Columbus. Columbus not happy, New York City happier. They weren't great, but they did get 3 points in this one. Games tonight as well that we'll get into. There's also this thing going around about where Lionel Messi will end up next year. And it's kind of unknown. Luis Suarez is going to leave Barcelona, and that was seen by a lot of people as all right, Messi, you've been able to basically run the show for a long time around here and say who you want and who you don't want. Those days are done. We're getting rid of your buddy, Luis Suarez. And now reports out of Argentina are that Messi will say something at some point very soon about what his intentions are going forward. So everybody is waiting to see. I mean, is this the decision 2020? Will Lionel Messi end up at a Boys and Girls Club and tell us that he's taking his talent somewhere? That'd be amazing if he did. I don't think he will, but that would be incredible if he did. They are up to the 6 box on TIC on Sportia this morning, and Messi's in one of the boxes. You've got all kinds of different things going on in Argentina. If we had this kind of show in MLS in the United States where we could have all these multiple boxes of training sessions going on, and we'd have a box with the disciplinary committee and who's in the disciplinary committee, and there'd be pictures with question marks on it and all kinds of madness. Let's get to that this morning, because if you missed it last night on Soccer Over There, it kicked off our show. Christopher Abel asks, what do you think of the Franco Escobar suspension? Reasonable, or just another example of MLS coming after Atlanta while letting Pitti and Barco be kicked? I didn't bring that part up in it, but that does play into this because that has been a long-running thing, and it was Miguel Almiron before Pitti and Barco being kicked. The disciplinary committee situation, like I said, it's a little hard to figure out exactly how this thing goes and how it has changed, because it has changed from 2 different things that I have found in terms of what it is. So the disciplinary committee, and this is from the 2020 official rules, competition rules and regulations published on MLSsoccer.com. The mission of the MLS disciplinary committee is to ensure player safety and preserve the integrity and reputation of Major League Soccer. The committee is comprised of 3 former MLS players, 1 is designated by the MLSPA, 1 former MLS coach, and 1 former MLS referee. Now, they acted on the Franco Escobar situation under Parameter 3, where officials, and in this case Ted Unkel, and video assistant referee Chris Penzo, saw the incident and did not act. It wasn't a situation that it doesn't fit because of the way it was announced, but it would not have been a situation where the replay system was broken, for example. That's a little bit different conversation here if Chris Penzo was not able to see it and act on it. This is one where both saw it and did not act on it. Pro has to acknowledge that Uncle and Penzo committed an error in this, which Pro doesn't generally like to do. They did in this case. The committee has to be unanimous. The 3 former players, the former coach, the former referee, have to be unanimous to say it's a red card, and 1 match ban is what needs to happen here. Basically, they're saying that it should have been a red card, and it wasn't given a red card, and they're giving it a red card. That's kind of how it goes. Now, this has changed sometime between the beginning of the 2017 season and now, and I don't know where that changed. In the past, when The referee saw an incident and did not issue a red card. The committee only acted if they thought it was a 2-game suspension. So it had to be an extra bar for being egregious. This was at the beginning of the 2017 season. If you remember, video assistant referees did not come into play in Major League Soccer until the middle of the 2017 season. And they came in 2018 was the first full season with video assistant referees in MLS, but middle of 2017 is when they came in. So at the beginning of the 2017 season, you had a higher threshold for the disciplinary committee to get involved. It had to be a 2-game incident that the referee missed. Now that you have an additional check in the video assistant referee assisting the referee in these situations, so you have another person looking at these incidents in matches, the threshold's been lowered to 1 game?
Yes, so.
That makes 0 sense. 0 sense. It should have been reversed. When you did not have VAR, basically the disciplinary committee would be your VAR after the fact. They would say, well, hey, the crew missed this. Maybe they didn't get a good look at it. We get the look at replay, and we think they missed it. That's a red card. They should have given a red card. Here's a 1-game suspension. But no, in the past, it had to be above the bar of a 1-game suspension. So in the past, this would not have happened. But now you've added another person in the video assistant referee who's involved in this decision, and you've lowered the bar.
Yeah.
Which does not make any sense at all, because now you're basically coming out and saying, and this is something, again, Pro does not like to do, that Ted Uncle messed up, that Chris Penso messed up. And these 5 people watching, not from a conference room because they're not getting together these days, I'd assume, but watching the video separately, all agreed that this was a red card. 3 former players, a former coach, and 1 former referee decided that the 2 referees involved in the match were wrong in not issuing a 1-game basic run-of-the-mill red card. If that makes sense to you, please draw the diagram for me.
Yeah.
Give me the flow chart. Stick figures are preferred, and I'd like to see it because I don't really get that. And the second part of what Christopher Abel said is kind of where I want to come back to. And no, there's not a conspiracy theory against Atlanta United by Major League Soccer. That doesn't make any sense. But we've seen teams at certain points in MLS's history get the benefit of the doubt in some situations on calls, and we've seen big teams get big calls. We see in every sport, in every league, superstar calls. Very rarely does that come into play here. Very, very rarely. And it goes back to what Abel said that frustrates me more than anything in matches, where, and we saw it in this one too on Saturday. Caleb Porter was complaining about this last night, and he's 100% correct. If you are a team that wants to play with the ball, you want to have possession of the ball, you have talented players with the ball at their feet, you're going to open yourself up to being fouled more. Teams who can't play against opponents who do that well, or teams who are worried about opponents breaking away on counters, will foul. And will foul intentionally. And there's a thing called persistent infringement, and that is supposed to see yellow cards. You see the referee point at different places on the field after he calls a foul. He's saying, you did this, you did this, you did this, or your team did this, and the next one or this one, yellow card. Can't keep doing that. Thanks for the motions there, John. Thank you. That helped. That doesn't seem to happen very often with Atlanta, and it's frustrating because Atlanta's a team who wants to play with the ball. Last night, Columbus was a team who wanted to play with the ball. New York City disrupted, broke them up, fouled them a lot. And I think the double frustration for me watching these games at times is where when Atlanta does the same thing, which they do, because that's what teams who have possession do to prevent counters. You commit the foul, you commit a tactical foul, you break up the play. Immediate yellows. Like, not persistent infringement yellows. Quick yellows. 5th-minute yellows, like to Brooks Lennon. 6th minute, maybe. Early yellow cards for doing the same thing. But then when Brooks Lennon is breaking away at the top of his 18, and yes, it's at the top of his 18, but there's about 40 yards of space in front of him after a set piece, he's fouled intentionally, just kicked to bring him down. Nothing. And that's consistent. And you can talk about the U.S. Open Cup incident with Ezequiel Barco, where he was just clobbered from behind, kicked in the knee that took him out for months last year. I think it was a foul. It wasn't a card. There definitely wasn't a red card. There definitely wasn't a U.S. Open Cup disciplinary committee looking back at it, I can tell you that much. Pity Martinez, is one of the most fouled players in MLS. Ezequiel Barco, since he came into the league, is the most fouled player per 90 minutes in MLS. And it doesn't feel like this is how it goes down. And it's strange. And this year, where Atlanta needs to be more aggressive defensively, needs to at times commit more fouls because they haven't, their foul numbers have gone way down. In the past, they've been, one of the top half teams that commit fouls. This year, they're really low. It's still the same way. It's not even a situation where it's like, well, you're an aggressive team, you're a physical team, so we're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Now it's like they're not, and they're still not getting the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. My frustration with this is twofold. If you're going to go, I don't like re-refereeing games, period. I don't like when the VAR re-referees games. This was 100% re-refereeing a situation. There were 4 plus the VAR plus the AVAR, 6 people involved in this situation on the field in the match. There wasn't a red card shown. You had 2 different opportunities to show the red card on the play and on a VAR review. Didn't happen. But a group of 5 people who weren't there, who are watching from home on video, give a red card. Don't think that's a great situation here for an incident that nobody talked about. Like, it didn't even register with people by the time the second half kicked off. Mind-blowing. A little mind-blowing in that. And the other part, too, is if Uncle had, I think, better control of these situations, he let physical play go too far before he blew the whistle consistently. This situation, for example, was a foul on Dominique Badji. And it was not anything about lazy defending. Let's make that clear. That had nothing to do with it. Escobar had position, and he was grabbed and thrown out of the way. And he kicked him out of frustration, absolutely, because he was being manhandled and didn't get a whistle and wasn't getting a whistle. Badji then went on to recklessly foul Miles Robinson from behind early in the second half. Committed 2 other fouls as well. Committed 4 fouls, no yellow cards for him. Anibal Godoy off the field, threw George Bello out of the way, and started a bit of a melee on the bench that saw Bello get a yellow card and an Atlanta United technical staff member get a yellow card. Nothing for Godoy. Mukhtar with the foul on Lennon at the top of the 18. I hate to gripe about referees. I want referees to be better. It's something that needs to be better for this league to be better. The referees are in a tough spot because the game has improved a lot in the last 20 years in the United States. The level of play, more importantly, the speed of play has increased a ton. The coaching has increased. The level of coaching has increased. The level of these little things like we're talking about, tactical fouls, being smart and bringing somebody down instead of letting them break, that kind of stuff. That has jacked up big time in the United States, especially in MLS. The resources put towards referee development have not, and that has to change. That's on U.S. Soccer. That is something that U.S. Soccer, they've put resources into player development, they put resources into coaching development, they have to put resources into referee development so we get better refereeing. Period. Got to happen. The VAR situation needs to be better. It needs to be dedicated VARs, not guys like Penso who are working in the middle one week and then working as a VAR the next. We need dedicated video assistant referees, just like we've specialized assistant referees. We need dedicated video assistant referees. These are things that have to improve for the refereeing to improve, period. This is a separate conversation than just don't like referees, don't like these calls, et cetera, et cetera. This is a disciplinary committee that has 1 referee out of 5 members on it. And this is something where you're going back to an incident that nobody talked about after halftime, and you're re-refereeing the incident and saying that Uncle was wrong, Penso was wrong, their whole crew was wrong, and it should have been a red card at the moment, and he's going to miss the next game. Craziness, because you wouldn't have been in that situation if Uncle had blown the whistle sooner, and you shouldn't be in the situation now because nobody has complained about any of this. Baffling. It's baffling to see this happen.
I went back and watched that stretch of the match. And if I remember television correctly, you have the low angle shot of Baji and Escobar basically trying to swim move each other, and they're grappling and they're working their way. It's hand fighting. It's stuff that we see. And I thought it was pretty much even Steven. You saw them both doing it. Then obviously, Baji does the one extra.
Yeah, no, hold on a second. No, it's not even Steven. They were both doing it. Escobar had position. Escobar didn't commit a foul in the situation. That needs to be understood here. It was not even Steven. He's grabbing him from behind, John. Like that's what's even more ridiculous about it is it wasn't two players battling for a loose ball and you're both pushing or whatever. Escobar's got position and he's being grabbed and yanked out of the way. It's not even Steven.
But in the end of it, okay, so it's not even Steven. We go to the end. Yes, Escobar clips Baji.
Oh, no, he kicked him. He kicked him. He kicked his legs out from under him. The ball was in the vicinity, though. It was not just a complete, no reason, just kicking somebody. He kicked him.
I would not have given a red there. I would have given a yellow. But then Baji, after he stands back up, comes in, bows up to Escobar, chest bumps him, and gets in his face. Baji gets nothing there.
Okay, I got to correct you, John, because you're focused on the referee here. That has nothing to do with what was called. What was called is the disciplinary committee who had nothing to do with it coming back and giving a red card. What Uncle did has nothing to do with this.
What I'm looking at is what Uncle didn't do and the disciplinary committee. So if the disciplinary
but it wouldn't have mattered.
So the disciplinary committee does what they do with Escobar, but in review with what Baji ends up doing to Escobar, they do nothing to Baji in this case.
No, they did nothing to Baji. Nobody did anything to Baji. The referee crew who didn't do anything to anybody in the situation, they didn't do anything to Baji on the review. And that, to me, once again, we talked about Gary Smith initially complains after Escobar sends Baji down. You see Gary Smith, there's the cutaway, Gary Smith turning to the fourth official, complaining. Then, that's it. I went back and looked into Nashville releases, post-game stuff, the Tennessee and local papers, saw no reference to this incident at all. Post-match. Zero. Nada. So you end up having this 5-person committee, and I have a question after this. This 5-person committee coming in, basically backseat driving and correcting the entire thing for something that wasn't mentioned, wasn't brought up, and I'm blown away by it. Absolutely blown away by it, and I have no idea. I'm dumbfounded at this. I really am. What's your question?
Do we know the last time that we heard from this committee?
Yeah, they're involved in stuff all the time. It's not like that. Let's be really clear here. The disciplinary committee, you can type in MLS disciplinary committee in Google, and you're going to see a ton of rulings. They're active. Here's my issues. I want to be 100% clear in my criticisms. I don't like that the disciplinary committee is involved in run-of-the-mill red cards now when you have VAR who is there as your second check.
Right.
They should not be involved in these situations that are one-game suspensions. You have a VAR there now. Now you've added another level of re-refereeing an incident that is pointless and a waste of time. And now nobody saw it except for this committee that it's a red card. Okay, whatever. It should be only 2-game suspensions and more, because then the bar is a lot higher for the committee to come back and say, Ted Uncle, you screwed up. Chris Penso, you screwed up. You guys were wrong, and you messed up the whole game. Because that's what this is saying. What this is saying is that Franco Escobar should have been red carded at that moment. Nashville should have had a man advantage the rest of the way. That's what this announcement is saying. They shouldn't have a group of 5 people with one referee out of 5 making that decision after the fact for a run-of-the-mill red card. It has to be a very high bar, a very big miss from the crew for them to act. 2, Ted Unkel should have blown the whistle a lot sooner. He should have done that consistently all night. There was player safety issues because of that. There were also other incidents, like Badji going chest-to-chest with Escobar in this, that the committee did not go back to look at. There was a horrendous foul on Eric Remedi in about the 71st, 72nd minute, where he's just completely clobbered in a very similar situation. Nothing. Nobody looked at it. You can't pick and choose in a situation like this in this game. If you had come back as this committee, which I think should not have been even in ruling on this because it's not a 2-game suspension or more, but if you had come back and said, we're giving a red to Escobar for kicking because he instigated, and we're giving a red to Badji for striking with his chest, I wouldn't have as much of a complaint. I wouldn't like it, but I would not be as fired up about it. The fact that you come back and pick one element of it, but in your video that you show at MLSsoccer.com with the announcement, you show Badji going in and bumping with his chest the player to start to provoke a situation. I mean, it's silly. So, Atlanta, more importantly, after all of this, because there's nothing else you can do, there's been lots of questions, a couple that I've seen consistently. The committee does not go back to review yellow cards. That doesn't happen. VAR doesn't review yellow cards. This committee has nothing to do with yellow cards. They don't review persistent infringement. They don't review anything like that. They only get involved in these kinds of egregious situations that they feel like should have been ruled on the field, or in a situation where the VAR, was broken. Say the system went down or something, and you couldn't have the review on the field that should have happened. There's 3 parameters that the disciplinary committee can get involved in. When the officials don't see the incident, if they don't see it, they don't have an opportunity to do anything about it. Where the officials see an incident and act, the committee may review it for further disciplinary action above the mandatory suspension and fine. Basically, and these are ones where it's probably most common that the disciplinary committee gets involved. Let's say a player punches somebody else, and he's red carded. Well, the red card is just the red card. That's all the referees can do. They can't say it's a 5-game suspension. The referees don't have that power. The disciplinary committee does. That's where they generally get involved with something like that. When Ricardo Clark kicked Carlos Ruiz, for example, back in 2007, 2008, that's a situation where the disciplinary committee will set the punishment. That happens. That's the most common way. But this was parameter 3, where the officials see the incident and do not act. No foul, no yellow card, no nothing. And that's what happened. And Pro has to acknowledge that the referees messed up. And I don't think they should have in this case, because I don't think this should have been overruled by this committee. So most importantly, Atlanta's got to go to Miami now without Franco Escobar, without Fernando Meza, we think. Don't see any way he's going to come back and play in this. Without... maybe Miles Robinson. He wasn't 90 minutes fit on Saturday, so we have a question there. Probably without Ezequiel Barco's day-to-day. So, yeah, loads of fun. It's going to be hard. It's going to be harder now because you're missing your right back. You've got ways you can solve it. It's not crisis mode for how many defenders you have. You've got George Bello. You've got Edgar Castillo on the left. Bello had a great day in this one. You've got Walks, you've got Lorenowitz, you've got Robinson, you've got Campbell, you've got Wyke as center back options. You've got Walks, you've got Lennon, you've got Gallagher as right back options, or right wing back options if you want to go to 3 center backs. You've got a lot of possibilities here. So, you're going to be okay, and it's one game. He'll be back on the weekend for Orlando. It's incredibly frustrating because it felt like it came out of nowhere. There's incidents in games where I'll note it and I'll have it kind of mentally in the back of my mind waiting to see if the disciplinary committee does something. There's situations like that happen every year. I had completely and utterly forgotten about this. Hadn't even thought about it. And it comes back with a 1-game suspension, which is just craziness to me. But that's what it is. So there's no appeal. There's no way to get it struck down. It is what it is at this point. If there was an appeal, it would have been done already because the announcement comes out after appeals have been done. So, yeah, it's a very frustrating thing because I feel like Atlanta gets kicked a lot in games, and I've never seen the disciplinary committee that I can think of. It's probably happened at some point in the 3+ seasons where they came back and ruled that somebody who kicked an Atlanta player should be suspended. I'd hope it has. I can't think of one. So, I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you.
We had a lot of folks obviously comment on it on Twitter. What's the Twitch pitch been like this morning?
Well, what do we got on Twitter? Because I've kind of been commenting on the Twitch pitch as we go. I'll handle the Twitch pitch. Just give me the Twitter.
All right. Daniel Price, he's fired up this morning on an On Par Reaction Tuesday. He says, I don't normally complain about refereeing, but when I do, they do something beyond stupid, say giving Franco an unreserved post-match red card for playing the very physical game being played. Absolutely insane judgment from the committee.
Hold on. Correction. It's not the referees who did this. It has nothing to do with the referees who did this. It's actually the disciplinary committee who said the referees were wrong. We got to be right in what's being said here because the referees, this is not a referee situation. There's one referee on the committee of 5. A former referee, a former coach, 3 former players. The Players Association picks one of those 3 former players. That's the committee. This was not referees did something wrong, except for Uncle allowing the play to go as far as it did, which is a very different criticism. That's much more of a procedural kind of thing, like control kind of thing. It's not as black and white. The disciplinary committee gave this. Referees did not. So let's be correct in what we're saying.
At Ska Toaster says the entire match wasn't called consistently from the beginning, period, facts, period.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, what's frustrating is this was a game that I didn't like the way Uncle used cards, but in general, he didn't affect the outcome of the game, so I'll take it. It was inconsistent. It was hard to tell when he was going to blow the whistle on situations. Like I've said, I thought he let physical play go too far and create situations like this that weren't necessary. But he didn't blow anything dramatically that would have changed it. Like, I didn't think he missed a red card in any of it. He should have given some yellow cards that maybe would have changed the way the game played out. But those are more minor criticisms. I will tell you when I like a referee or don't, and I'll try to give you the specifics on what I like and what I don't. Uncle was okay. He was all right. It just didn't, it didn't really register to me in that. He was inconsistent, I agree, but, this is above and beyond. This isn't even about the referees anymore, which is even more frustrating.
Daniel says, in response to, he says, fair, I still blame the committee.
You have to blame the committee. Like, you can't blame the referees, though. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Abby says one thing he did affect because he stopped play on an advantage. He did, but that's when I say affect, you can't re-referee every incident in a game and say, well, he got this wrong, so then this would have happened. You can't do that because that's just then you don't play. Referees are going to make mistakes. We know that, and that's why they have a VAR now, because they have somebody to help them get calls right. That's why they have headsets with their assistant referees so they can talk and get things right. I just want the calls to be right. They're going to miss some. And there's going to be some where it's a judgment. And you might think it's one thing, I might think it's one thing, they might think it's one thing. Those are all fine. And those calls are going to happen. I don't get hung up on those. I get hung up on game-changing situations. A goal that should not have stood. A red card that should have been issued or should not have been issued. Yellow card stuff is a step below those, but it can start to affect it. I don't think you would have had a situation with 2 yellows here because you get the first one, you're going to act a little differently. I think Baji probably would have been substituted if he had gotten a yellow for that one on Robinson early in the second half. That's the one that I thought, no question, should have triggered it. But no, you can't get hung up because then that's where it becomes unfair to referees. And I try to be fair to their job because it is incredibly hard. Like, we can look at all kinds of things with TV, with monitors, with replays that they don't get the benefit of seeing. So I'm not going to be nitpicky on them. And this wasn't even their issue outside of Uncle should have been throwing yellows a little bit more to Nashville and should have called the game a little bit tighter when he saw how physical it was getting at moments. He should have blown the whistle quicker on situations.
Four-card Ahmed says it wasn't a red card. Definitely yellow, but not red. I totally understand the frustration with how the ref was inconsistent. I'm tired of seeing Atlanta get punished for the same stuff other teams do to us.
Yeah, and again, it's multiple things. Like referees calling things in the disciplinary committee, two different worlds here. It's frustrating when Atlanta gets that yellow card for breaking up the play and other teams don't when they do that to Atlanta. Those are the little things that'll set me off in a game. The Lennon yellow card early on, I've seen criticism. Abby said it was ridiculous. It wasn't if he had called that consistently all night. If he had called that consistently and you're breaking up the play, it's intentional to break up the play, it's a yellow card for a professional foul. And I'm not using the official referee terminology, so referees don't kill me for that. You know what I mean, I hope. If you're going to give that one, you have to give the one to Mukhtar, like 15 minutes later. That's my issue. If you're going to set that bar, you got to work with that bar. If you call that one, you can't not call others.
Yeah,
that's the hard thing about refereeing is, look, it's a book, and as Mark Geiger has said in classes, and I completely agree with the statement, the book can bend. Every game, you have to manage it. If you're calling a game like by the definitions of the words in it only, and that's it, a lot of times you're going to end up 8v8, and everybody's going to hate the referee, and everybody's going to hate the experience, and nobody's going to be happy at the end of the day. You have to be consistent. And if you're going to be lenient, be lenient. If you're going to be strict, be strict. But you can't fluctuate. That's the problem, and that's when referees get into trouble.
Marshall Voigt is introducing the hashtag Free Franco.
Nothing you can do. He's going to get extra rest. He'll be ready to go for Orlando, that's for sure.
Nathan Pugh. At what point should Stephen Glass start really talking up the foul situations in press conference? Perhaps he has. I would love for him and players to bring up refereeing consistency before every match, not complain after or complain before. Turn the petty up to 11, hashtag Tuesday Thoughts.
Some coaches will. Jesse Marsh did this during his time at Red Bulls. He definitely played the media on that kind of thing with referees and expectations of physical play. I think he did it against Atlanta in 2017, if I remember correctly. Some coaches will do it. I don't think it's Glassy's style. If it consistently happens, could it come up? Sure. You have to do it in a pretty savvy way. I mean, it can be done. You can't come out and say, well, referees have screwed us, because then you're just going to anger referees. It's got to be something like, well, we know this is going to be a physical game, and we hope that when we win our 1v1s in the middle of the park and start to break away into the final third, that when fouls are committed there, we hope that they're called and we hope that they're punished, because this is something that we are trying to create. These are situations we are trying to create through our play. You can do it by highlighting something without casting aspersions on people, and that's kind of the way to play that game a little bit. We'll see. I would hope it would work. I would hope the calls would just be handled correctly. And it depends on the referee. I mean, there's a pretty wide range of referees in the league right now. And especially right now where you don't have the Canadian referees involved in the games on this side. So you're missing a few. You've got some people who have been promoted. You've had turnover in the referee crew in the last couple of years anyway. I mean, Geiger's one I mentioned. He's not refereeing anymore. There's others who have walked away or are doing less games. You're pushing new guys through because you have to. Uncle's not one of those guys. And again, this wasn't Ted Uncle making this decision. This was a disciplinary committee that's separate. But Uncle's been kind of in that middle tier of referees in this league. He's been below the elite guys, in my opinion. That's what you get. Guys below that, you're going to get more inconsistency. Consistency is the biggest thing I look for. It's the number one thing. If you're consistent with the way you manage the game, I can work with you however you call it. If you call it very loose and you're calling 10 fouls in the game where they could have called 30, but you're consistent with it, fine, I can play that way. If you're calling it really tight and you can't get away with anything, cool, I can adapt to that. It's when it's back and forth you can't adapt and you don't know how to play.
So who's the lead in your mind when it comes to center ref?
Some of this is style. I like referees that don't blow the whistle a ton. I like referees that allow the game to play. Jair Marufo, I think, is one who does that. And that can frustrate people at times, but he's consistent. And he doesn't throw a ton of cards either. He's not a guy who is very involved. He manages the game by fading into the background a little bit. I'm good with that. And I think that's what FIFA is looking for, and in turn what Pro is looking for, because he gets big games. Alan Chapman generally is that kind of referee as well. Ismail Elfath is probably my favorite, and I know he's not everybody's. But I think what I like about Ismail is he manages the game with his personality. Like, people can talk to him, and he'll talk to you. And that can diffuse situations really, really well, in my opinion. I don't like referees who feel like they're above the players on the field and won't talk to them. I don't think that helps the situation. I think it can make it worse. Elfath will talk to you. I think that's good. Those are the guys who stand out to me. I mean, far more often the referee is not an issue to me. Like, are there calls in a game? Absolutely, because we all have played. We've all been involved. We've all coached. We've all watched games. Calls happen. It's like, oh, come on, ref. And so many times you get an all come on, ref, and then after the game, you did a really good job. Thank you. You know, I mean, everybody's going to complain about some call in a game. That's fine. I'm trying to look at like the bigger picture stuff, that game management, the persistent infringement situations, how you manage the players, how you handle cards, those kinds of things. That's what I'm looking for. So it's not about looking for a perfect game, because you ain't going to find it. Referees are going to miss calls. It happens, and it's okay.
But it's the consistency that you're looking for. So instead of early card, same situation, no card later, then instead of having an up-down, you're looking for that flat line.
Number one is consistency, is what I'm looking for. Number two is I prefer a referee who doesn't throw a whole bunch of cards. That's my preference, because I think that can get you in trouble more, because sometimes you can back yourself into a second yellow card if you're calling the game too tight, because then you have to get away from the consistency. And you have to let something go that would have been a yellow in the first half, and then you've kind of lost that bar, and it gets frustrating. Bernd Dursberger said the female referees in the USL, and we've seen a few with Atlanta United too, are very good at managing players. And absolutely, the ones that we've seen, I cannot remember who it was we had in USL Championship in Kennesaw. I thought she did an excellent job. Sean Clark's a male, John.
Oh, sorry.
That's Ricardo Clark's brother. So, yeah,
okay.
not him.
No.
Jeez. I cannot remember who it was. I want to say it might have been the Tampa Bay game. But very good, because she would talk to the players. I like referees that talk to players, because it calms it down. Okay. We've talked about referees and disciplinary committees for 40 minutes. I really don't want to do that anymore. We'll take some more questions later if we have them. But, man, there's been a lot of talk about referees and stuff. Question from Jason Nix, and we've had some answers on the Twitch pitch about Blaise Matuidi. He is not eligible to play yet. They're hoping he might be able to play by the end of these games, but he is not eligible yet. He is going through the COVID protocols. He might be going through a quarantine situation as well. So he will not be playing tomorrow night. What else is on people's mind? Anything else? Or are we still talking about refs and disciplinary committees?
We still have a lot of refs and disciplinary stuff.
Okay, let's do it. We're cutting it at halftime.
All right.
We're cutting it at halfway.
Daniel Price says, for whatever reason, we were the bad guys in this match. The committee was out to get us in this instance. And maybe Bruce Arena. What happened there?
No, Bruce Arena should have been suspended for more games. They had to go full blurry mouth, almost whole blurry face on him after a game where he said a whole lot of things that you're not supposed to say. There's magic words. If you've seen Bull Durham, you kind of know what I'm talking about for one magic word that you didn't say to an umpire at that time. There's magic words that if they're said, you're going to be in trouble. Let's go back to Chris Wondolowski. Chris Wondolowski last year, I had no idea why he got sent off from the bench when San Jose came to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. He said later that I think he called the referee a cheat because he tweeted it. He said something like, I can't say it. I guess I learned I can't say this or something. And he's 100% accurate. That's not a curse word that's a magic word. That's an integrity situation. And if those things are said, you're going to get suspended. I don't know what Bruce Arena said. I know he was incredibly demonstrative after a game. I believe he didn't want to leave the field after being told to leave the field, and they had to go full blurry mouth on him. He might have deserved it. We don't know what he said, so we're guessing, but I'm not complaining too much about that one. Is it maybe a little severe? Well, maybe he's worked himself up to that situation with other complaints over the years. Might be a little bit of accumulation. Full blurry face, Bruce Arena.
But
the first part of what Daniel said, no, I don't think the committee's out to get Atlanta. I don't think it's anything like that. I think they made the wrong decision here. I think it's that simple. I think they got it wrong. I do want to see skilled players protected more in this league, because if they're not going to come to this league. If you're going to get punted out of this league and kicked consistently, you're not going to come to this league because you don't want to get hurt. This league will be better off if you protect skilled players and not protect them outside of the bounds of the laws of the game. Just call fouls against them, and where there are, egregious fouls, punish the people who are committing those fouls. We want this league to be one of skill, not of big defenders who are hacking people.
Natalie Simon center refed the Miami FC match down at Ricardo Silva.
There was one at home, but that's fine. She was good in that one as well. It is a little bit different conversation, and it's been good to see players respect female referees when they've been getting these assignments, and I hope Major League Soccer has female referees. The thing that has changed it a little bit is now with the NWSL, generally your female center referees are going to work there instead of working MLS. You don't have really any crossover between the two. Good referees need to be doing the highest level that they want to do. And everybody's different. It's just like with coaches. There are some male referees and male coaches who do a really good job in the women's game. There are some who are not a good fit for the women's game. It's the same for female coaches and female referees. There are some who are a good fit for the men's game. There are some who aren't. There's some stylistic differences. There's some speed differences. So the physicality of a referee in terms of just pace and stamina comes into play a little bit. There's also the way you deal with people. There's different personalities at play. So I just want good referees, period. And if the best referees coming through USL Championship are females and they want to work in MLS, if they're good enough, they need to work in MLS. If they want to go to NWSL because that might get them to a Women's World Cup or impress them with FIFA or assignments, okay, I'm not going to hold anything against that. But I just want the best referees you can get.
And last one about the Franco Escobar decision. This is from Tafka. The anti-Atlanta bias seems palpable on and in all caps and now off the field. Why? What is it about us that draws ire?
I don't know. I think that's exaggerated. I would hope that there is no organized movement against a team that is a good thing for the league. Look, Atlanta's at times is not an easy team to deal with on the field because you do have players who are physical and you have players who will talk to you quite a bit. Now, that's changed a little bit. Leandro Gonzalez-Perez not here. He's going to be on the other side on Wednesday, but he's one who will drive you crazy as a referee because he's not going to stop talking. Franco Escobar can be that, and Franco can be very demonstrative to a point that it looks like he is showing a referee up sometimes. That can get you into cards, even if you're not saying magic words. Beyond that, I mean, it's really kind of changed. I think the perception of Pitti and Barco diving is wrong and unfair, and it should not color the way their situations are called. They are fouled more than most players in this league because they're really good at beating people 1v1, and all the defender can do is foul them. Or they're about to break and they're fouled. Referees can't hold that against a team because they're good at certain situations that create fouls. I don't want to think that's the case. I don't think that's the case. I do get frustrated with the way Atlanta games get refereed at times when I look at others around the league. And
the only other one in the Twitters at the moment is Abby, and it is a discussion about the match that happened last night.
Okay, well, let's start with Ricky Ricardo because Ricky is very fired up about New York City being 5 years old and not having a stadium. They're living on their cousin's couch, like, come on now. Yeah, I know. I'm not. There's nothing to say. I mean, you brought them in because they paid a lot of money. They paid more money than the teams who came in around them. They paid more money than Atlanta did to come in the door. I think part of that extra pay was because, hey, you're going to have a hard time getting your stadium sorted out. They have committed to playing in the city, which made that degree of difficulty in getting a stadium done a whole lot higher. They've had close calls, things that have fallen through, which is hard to hold against them. They do have something in motion, and it probably would have had more announcements done by now if you weren't in a pandemic. At the beginning of the year, you had some pretty good movement on a parcel of land that is adjacent to Yankee Stadium. And recent reports, I think from the last month, were that that's still active. That hasn't fallen off. It's just nothing's being done with it at the moment because of the pandemic. So I do have hope that that's going to change in the next couple of years. But, yeah, it's going to take a couple of years. NYC is going to have to make some tough decisions in that meantime. Right now they can't play at Yankee Stadium. There's no point with no fans in paying to transform it into a bad soccer venue for games that you're not going to have any fans in there. So why are you paying extra money to play somewhere? That's pointless. But they need to figure out something better than Yankee Stadium in the meantime. But they also can't play full-time at Red Bull Arena while they wait on their new stadium, because then you're killing your fan base, because your fan base isn't always going to follow you out to Jersey when you're building a fan base in the city. It's really difficult. MLS took a chance with them. MLS took a chance with Chivas USA. It didn't work out. MLS took a chance with New York City. I think in some ways it has worked out. They've been a good team. They've been a compelling team. You've brought some big names through there. You've got a presence in the city, which the Red Bulls never really had, even when they were the Metro Stars. And that's vital. I think it's probably helped a little bit with the last TV contract. All that's good, and it's important, and that's why I think you've dealt with it. But you're getting diminishing returns on the value of it now. You've got to get this stadium done. If you don't, and there's nothing to go on that they're not, if you don't, I think you have some hard decisions to make about the future of where that club's going to play. I really do. I think you're going to have to come up with a different solution than Yankee Stadium. If you told me that New York City is going to have their new venue, they're going to be in the city, they're going to be in a great soccer stadium adjacent to Yankee Stadium, they're going to be everything that they told us they would be, but that stadium's not going to open until 2023. If you could guarantee me that it's going to open, I can take that. I can deal with that. If you say that it's not going to happen and we don't know what's next, but they're still going to play at Yankee Stadium, I don't think that's acceptable anymore. I think this is the last shot for them, and there better be a backup plan that they immediately step to if this doesn't work. But by all accounts, this is in motion. Things are happening. They've had neighborhood meetings. They're moving forward on the deal. They have all the pieces in place. If it's going to open, if this is the deal that gets done, cool. If not, New York City FC has some tough decisions on where they play.
Because we've seen Belmont, we've seen Flushing, and we've seen the Bronx on the flip side of the old construction, the old site for the original Yankee Stadium, right? Those are the three that I remember for possible venues.
I don't remember all of them because there's been so many different things that I can't keep up with. The new one is close to Yankee Stadium. I know that much.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. And that's the thing is I get why they came into the league. I get why you accepted the check. There's been good things about them being in the league. No question at all. All that's good. All that's in the past. Now going forward, you've got to get a stadium done. If this falls through, it is okay. What are you doing now? Because you're not playing at Yankee Stadium a whole lot longer. It's unacceptable. So that's where they're down to for now. If it's Yankee Stadium until a new stadium in 2023, I can deal. If it's Yankee Stadium until something at some point in the future, that's not acceptable anymore. Anyway, they actually played, and they played at Red Bull Arena last night.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us about the game?
Awful, just an awful pass from Keita, and New York City capitalized on it. And it wasn't the only time in the match that they did that particular pass from one side of the back to the other, but it was just an awful pass. TV missed it, and they had to go back to the replay to show it. I mean, you see there's a cutaway, and the event happens, and then the ball ends up in the back of the net off a turnover, and that was the only goal of the match, but it wasn't the only time that they did it. It was like, okay, so you didn't learn your lesson. You kept doing that same pass, and it was from one end to the other, and the one time that it doesn't work, it ends up in a goal for NYC, and NYC gets the Duke. And Abby comes in, she says they capitalized on a bad Columbus defensive mistake to take the lead and eventually the W.
So let me ask you this.
Sure.
You don't like teams that build out of the back, do you?
That's a sweeping generalization.
Well, that's what you just said.
I said in this instance.
But they had bad passes, and you've turned into Jose Mourinho. You're afraid of the ball. You're afraid of the ball. You're gonna make passes. Now it's a bad pass. There's two situations here. It's a bad pass. Abubakar Keita messed up and cost his team the game, no question. But you went down the road of, well, they did this a bunch of times and they didn't get punished for it. They almost got punished. They did it a bunch of times because that's how they play. They build up out of the back. And we've had this conversation many times because many teams will do it, and there are many managers and many people in the game who hate it because of fear. Because this is what happens when you do that sometimes. How many passes does this happen on? Well, I don't know. Not often. But you remember these. Absolutely. You're going to have to accept some of these. You're going to have to accept some mistakes like this. Because the trade-off for me, and this is my opinion, this is just what I like about the game. This is, a team that I prefer to watch. The alternative is to just hoof it long. The alternative for Abubakar Keita in that situation is don't try to complete a pass in your own defensive third, just blast it long. That creates at best a 50-50 situation to win it. You're rolling dice, hoping that you keep the ball. If you are good at what you do in building up out of the back, you're going to invite people in. You're going to create situations where you play through a press, and then you have numerical advantage going the other way, and you have the other team spaced out when you attack it behind them. That's something Columbus tries to do. That's something that Atlanta tries to do. That's something that Bayern Munich did to PSG in the Champions League final. And did Bayern Munich have a few bad passes? They did. Yeah, and PSG had these opportunities, and PSG didn't punish them. If you're going to play that way, you have to accept the mistakes. Now, you have to talk about what Keita did wrong here, and you have to break it down so hopefully it doesn't happen again. And if it does happen again with him and it consistently happens again, you've got to make a change on that personnel. But I don't think you change the way you play because of a mistake. You get more out of playing out of the back, in my opinion, than you get out of just hoofing it long. If you're a lesser team who can't play out of the back, of course, you're just going to blast it long because that's all you got. But if you can play, and Columbus is a team that can play. Now, remember one thing, though, about Columbus. We've talked about this from the MLS's back tournament. They went out in the offseason, and they got Vito Vormhor to come in and be a center back who can do this, can play with the ball at his feet. You go back to I think the first game that he was injured in, and you go back to his games early in the tournament, very involved in the build-up. He was the focal point of the build-up. When you looked back at Atlanta United last year, for example, with Leandro Gonzalez-Perez and Franco Escobar and Miles Robinson, it was LGP with the ball at his feet all the time in the build-up. Vormhor was that guy for Columbus. Well, he's injured. He's out for a long time. Keita was not supposed to be that guy. Mensah's not exactly that guy. That's where Caleb Porter might have to have a think and say, we have to be more careful because we're built to play one way and we're missing the piece that allows us to play that way totally. You still want to build up out of the back, but you have to have maybe a little bit lower bar of this is too scary, let's play long. Keita might not allow you to play out of the back as well as you want to. And that's going to affect Columbus's efficiency. It's going to affect their strength for sure. You have to decide if Josh Williams can be more than that or if somebody else can be more than that, or if you need to go out in the transfer market and find somebody who can play that way. Because, if Keita's going to consistently have this issue, you can't play the way you want to.
Really, in looking at the mistake that Keita made and then in other instances of it, it was the length of the pass that kind of got the hairs on the back of my neck to stand up. It was if there was proximity, if there was an individual that would make it 2 20-yard passes instead of 1 40-yard pass from end to end, or if there was some speed behind the idea. It seemed to develop too slowly.
The speed behind the idea is a whole different issue. That's the individual mistake. That's not an indictment on building up out of the back. That's an individual mistake.
Yeah, and so that's what I was looking at. It's like, okay, so you have this one end of the other idea that Keita wants to accomplish, and it seemed that it was too far of an expanse, and it seemed like it was there for the taking, that you could either jump into the lane, create a mistake or something like that, and it just happened too slowly for me.
Look, this is what always happens in this. You have turned into Jose Mourinho, by the way, because, man, you sound exactly like him with this.
And Daniel Price says that that's the worst insult that you could have ever given me, that I'm Jose.
No, he's Jose. Don't call him Jose. He's going to be very upset with that. He's Jose. You're sounding just like him, because he turned from a manager who was all about build-up play and all about possession to a manager who said that if you have the ball, you're going to make more mistakes. And that's a scary place to be. This was a big
faster and do it quicker. That's what I want.
That's different, John. Like, that's a completely different situation. Of course, you can't do the build-up play if you're not doing it quickly. This was a bad decision from Abubakar Keita and a bad pass, 100%. I'm not going to say that Columbus should play differently because of one bad pass. He can't make that pass. Mensah said after the game, he's like, I was pointing at the goalkeeper. That was the pass to make.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with a young player in Keita who has limited experience at this level, probably limited experience being asked to do everything he's doing, and he took a risk here that he didn't need to take. Can't do that. Got punished. Lost the game. Can't have those mistakes happen. But no, that's not a reason to change the way you play. Not at all. You just don't make that pass. You make a different one to the goalkeeper, because that was the play there.
Yes. Chiefs coach Steve says, I love build up out of the back and expect it of my team. So many reasons, but why would you turn possession into a 50-50 situation intentionally?
Yeah, then that's for me. It's like when you get the ball, I want the ball. I want to keep the ball. I don't want you to have the ball. I want to play. Like, I feel like especially if I'm Columbus, I mean, if I've got Darlington Nagbe, if I've got typically, and he wasn't there last night, Lucas Zelarayan, if I've got Artur, if I've got Sebastian Berhalter, who's a technical player, if I've got Jossie Zardes, a forward I want to feed, Pedro Santos, I mean, you've got players. I don't want to put them into 50-50 situations. If I don't have players and I've got big guys who can go fight, all right, different conversation. I'm probably going to bunker, and I'm probably going to play long and just hope for a bounce to fall my way. That's what you see from lesser teams. If you're a top team, you need to be able to play out of the back. You're going to make mistakes in doing it, but that can't scare you out of it. It can't scare you out. You can't turn full Jose. You can't turn full Jose and say, I don't want the ball. I'm afraid of the ball. Teams with the ball make mistakes.
I'm of the Jonathan Mensah club. Pass it to the keeper. Don't pass it to me directly.
No, John, that's idiotic. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous, because that's not the conversation here. Jonathan Mensah's not saying never pass the ball to me. No. Understand what he's doing there. The play was not to him because it was too risky. The play was to the goalkeeper in that situation. Then the goalkeeper might have played Mensah. Goalkeeper might have played it back to Keita. Goalkeeper might have played it long. Mensah's not saying don't play it out of the back. No.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in that situation.
No, you said no, John. Okay, go ahead.
In that situation, I'm agreeing with Jonathan Mensah. Play it to the keeper, then the keeper can either go back to Keita, go to Mensah, do whatever. Don't go one end to the other. I'm agreeing with Jonathan Mensah here in that particular instance.
Jonathan Mensah's talking about one decision. You said it in a way to talk about not playing out of the back. I want to make that clear. Jonathan Mensah's not saying don't play out of the back when he says don't play it to me there. He's saying I got somebody here. You can't get it to me. Pass it there. It's that simple. He's not saying play it long. He's not telling the goalkeeper to play it long. He's saying I'm not on here. That's all.
And I'm agreeing with that.
Okay, that's not the way you said it at all. So I wanted to clarify because it got me riled up because I don't like negative soccer. I don't like.
It's not the first time that I have had a modifier missing in a sentence.
Well, then fix them because they're kind of important. Because otherwise, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm being a bully. Thank you, Jason Nix. I was totally being a bully because I don't like goalkeepers who just play the ball long or saying play it long because I'm afraid. Get a dog. Sit on your porch and get a dog. All right. Lots of stuff. Why don't you tell us about somebody if you're a little scared and have a problem that he might be able to help you out with? Steve Apolinsky can do that.
Apolinsky and Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything SDH and the Soccer Down Here Network, wrongful death and serious injury attorneys. If this is a road you unfortunately feel you have to go down, a couple different ways that you can catch up with Steve and our friends at Apolinsky and Associates, LLC. There's a website, because a lot of folks have websites these days, aa-legal.com. You hit enter or return or whatever the button is on whatever device you're accessing, aa-legal.com. Pop-up window pops up because that's what the pop-up windows do. They pop up. You can have an instant conversation with somebody 24/7, 365 or 366 in a year like this. Or you can shoot Steve an email directly at STEVE, Steve, at aa-legal.com. Or you can get a free consultation by giving him a buzz at 404-377-9191. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for being one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients in Georgia and Alabama. The website for Apolinsky and Associates at aa-legal.com.
All right, question about New York City from the Twitch pitch, and we've had all kinds of comments. Calling me a bully or whatever. It's okay. Is New York City for real?
For real what?
Well, I guess that would answer it. You think they stink, don't you?
Is New York City for real? Is New York City for real? Is New York City for real? I mean, what's the emphasis on the syllable here?
Okay, missing modifier guy. Now you're going to start to quibble on things?
Yes.
Is New York City a legit team in the Eastern Conference?
A legit team in the Eastern Conference? I still think they're trying to figure themselves out. So for me, jury is still out.
So this changes nothing for you?
Nope.
Okay.
It's a good uptick. You took advantage of a situation. You got 3 points when probably one should have been the result by the end of the night. So still a learning curve and a growth in progress for me.
Are they better than being the 10th place team in the conference?
Ooh, okay. So let's see. Who would be below them? I would say Chicago would be below them. I would say, that's tough because which Inter-Miami team do we have? Is it the team that beat Orlando 3-2 or is it the one that was around MLS's back? I think they're better than Cincinnati. It's close. I think they're better than DC. So let's see. By process of elimination, I think they're right there.
So they went from, in your mind, because I want to get this straight, because I'm disagreeing with the majority here. Ricky Ricardo says they're real crap. They went from being the best team in the East last year, regular season, to now only 10th best with the same roster.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong, and everybody else is wrong too. They're better than the 10th team. They're not playing like it. Are they a better team? Yes, and they will be better than the 10th place team. They are. I'll go the other way instead of looking at the table and saying that they're better than the teams below them. I will say they're better than the Red Bulls long term.
Okay.
I think they're better than Montreal. I think they're better than Cincinnati. I think they're better than New England. I think they're probably better than Orlando. They're better than DC. They're better than Nashville. They're better than Chicago. And they will probably end up being better than Miami. I put a modifier there because Miami might actually go sign a number 9. Maybe, possibly. Maybe. We'll see. And that might change Miami. But I think they are in that. I think this year they will be in that 3 to 6 range. Okay. The hiccup is a new manager, and it's taken a little bit of time. They had the classic team meeting, and they all talked about everything, and they're all on the same page. The effort was much better last night. It was a much better performance from them than they had against the Red Bulls. They have the talent. Maxi Morales, if he's injured for long stretches, they won't be the same team. They'll be more in that 6 to 8 range if he's out for long periods of time. But roster-wise, they have as good of a roster as anybody in the East. But the injuries and the new manager is going to bump them down a little bit in my book.
Breaking news sounder, please.
Okay. Breaking news.
NWSL to continue breakout 2020 season with fall series.
Fall series?
Fall series. The NWSL announced today that its breakout 2020 season will resume on September 5th, 2020. Following the success of the Challenge Cup, there will be a televised NWSL Game of the Week on CBS Television Network every Saturday in September and on CBS Sports Network 3 Saturdays in October. CBS All Access will exclusively stream 4 games as well as the CBS broadcast coverage in September. The fall series will include 18 matches over the course of 7 weeks, featuring three-team pods. Teams within each pod will play one another to enable the league to minimize travel. Full format and schedule for the NWSL fall series will be released in the next week.
So they're going to do a Saturday Game of the Week every Saturday in September on CBS. When is the SEC supposed to start?
September 24th?
Okay, so you've got flexibility before that, and then after that you're going to have to do early kicks. And they did early kicks with the Challenge Cup, so maybe that's the plan, is to have the NWSL game at like 12:30 or something.
Yeah.
Which would be fine. How amazing would an NWSL lead in to the SEC be? That'd be kind of cool.
Great.
Okay. I mean, it's a series of games. Like, I don't know what they really mean. I don't think they're a season in any way. It feels like a showcase, kind of. And
Yeah.
you're going to be missing a lot of key players because they're going to be on loan to clubs in Europe. I want to see what it looks like. It's going to be an opportunity for players that maybe we don't know as much, for sure. Sean Vergara asks, does this make it seem like CBS is going to go for the MLS contract when it comes up? I think they are in the mix. I do.
Yeah.
We've talked about this with Mike Conti, and Mike follows the big picture sports conversation when it comes to broadcast in pretty good detail. And he's a little worried about CBS Sports Network and CBS All Access versus like an ESPN. I don't think it would be a versus thing because I don't think CBS would be able to get all of it. But could they get a game of the week? Yeah, I do. And could they get something that incorporates? I mean, could they want to get the out-of-market TV package from ESPN? They could. I don't think they'll get it. I think a game of the week for CBS would be something they would push for. They'd have to pay because I think there are other issues that are kind of ESPN with ABC, with ESPN Plus is the most compelling partner you have out there. Could CBS replace Fox? I wouldn't rule that out. Could CBS get a new package? I wouldn't rule that out either. But, yeah, I think they'll be aggressive. I do.
Then would CBS, and I'm looking at their schedule just to try to come up with an idea, would CBS be that network that could do the Friday night game of the week and have that as a part of their marquee
could.
element?
I don't know what their Friday night programming is.
Right now it's MacGyver, Love Island, and Blue Bloods.
I didn't know MacGyver came back.
It's a bad redo.
Oh, that's not good.
Like his son.
Oh, that's really not good. Yeah, they could come into that. I mean, I think the landscape's going to be really different after all of this we're dealing with. I mean, before this, Fox went in on WWE on Friday nights with SmackDown. Yeah. And the ratings before all of this, because now everything's out of whack. Before all of this, the ratings were, not great, but they delivered certain demographics. Young viewers that advertisers are spending money to put their product in front of. MLS can do the same thing. Could CBS say, well, it's cheaper to go get this and put it on Friday nights than to put a remake of MacGyver and who knows what else on? It could. They easily could. That'd be fascinating. I've wondered that. I've really thought the SmackDown move on Friday nights could open up the door for somebody to say, you know what, let's take a chance on MLS on Friday nights. But you got to commit to, like, it's the Friday night game of the week. And CBS would have to pay, like NBC did when they came in the door to get the Sunday night game of the week. They had to overpay to get it. You got to make the case, and MLS is going to say, that sounds great. We've never tried that, and we're a little concerned about it. How are you going to make us not feel so concerned? Oh, dollars. Okay, yes. We're less concerned.
Rich Ransom says CBS would probably replace Fox with the MLS game of the week. ESPN will always be the quote-unquote home of MLS.
ESPN's so powerful that I don't think you can afford to be away from them. And that's completely fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. Sean Vergara says get rid of 2-day NA. That ain't happening either because those ratings have been as good as anything else for the league. So that definitely ain't happening. Could you maybe find a way to either improve the English language component of those games? I think you can, and I think they have. They've definitely put more resources to it than they used to. Could you find a way to partner/simulcast those games in English on an English-speaking network that people would go to? I think you could. I'd like to see them figure out ways to do that, but I would not want to lose 2-day NA's presence. 2-day NA is massive for this league. Absolutely massive for this league. I know for non-Spanish speakers it's inconvenient. I get that. I understand that. But it's a very, very important element to the league. There's something I wanted to pull up if I can find it really quick. It's actually really important in this conversation, so bear with me for 1 second. The really good journalist based in Madrid who follows MLS pretty closely, also just sports in the United States in Spanish, Jaime Ojeda. It's Jaime OR96. Definitely worth a follow. And he posted something yesterday that grabbed my attention. It's from Statista Charts. They did a survey this month that revealed a little bit about who is interested in MLS in this country. So they broke it down, and I'd have some questions about how they broke down these demographics. White, Hispanic, African American, and other. The group that was either an avid fan or casual fan of Major League Soccer that was the lowest was white. The group that was the highest was Hispanic. The next one's other was next, and African American, which was a little surprising to me. Again, I'm wondering how these are being defined. 33% of Hispanics are either an avid fan or a casual fan of MLS, according to this poll. And I don't have the details on how they did the poll. It could be bunk. It could be real. I don't know. Other was 28%. African American was 24%. White was 19%. And only 4% said avid fans. That was fascinating to me. The Hispanic part wasn't surprising to me at all because that's kind of understood. And I think where MLS has really had a lot of success is becoming more relevant to Hispanic viewers who might have preferences for Liga MX or other leagues, but are far more accepting of MLS now. And I think, and I've always felt this way from conversations anecdotally and from different surveys I've seen, that Hispanic fans who are first fans of Club America or Cruz Azul or Boca Juniors or River Plate or Millonarios or wherever their heritage brings them here from, if they are fans of a team there first, just like you have European fans here who are fans of Bayern Munich or Chelsea or Liverpool or whatever first, and MLS came second to them. Hispanics are far more open-minded about MLS than European soccer fans. I've always felt that way, and I think that's where MLS has really had its greatest strides. So that's why 2-day NA is very important. Sorry, Sean. That's where I think 2-day NA is really important. They can do better, and they need to, because if they're going to have an exclusive game of the week, it needs to be available in both. But that's also the same for your ESPNs. They need to incorporate ESPN Deportes better. Fox needs to incorporate Fox Deportes better. And CBS, that would be a question. And that would have to be an important question from MLS is, okay, who would your Spanish language partner be? Or would you be like TUDN, where you have the SAP button function with Spanish language commentary? NBC would have Telemundo if they wanted to go down that road. Yeah. The others, ABC, it's the ESPN, Fox, you've got it covered. CBS, I don't know what that would be, and they'd have to solve that. Maybe they partner with TUDN. And that's the one that I've talked myself into during all of this, is your Friday night, because TUDN went for a Friday night game of the week for a while. I loved it. And this was before they were really doing much with the SAP, the English language. Maybe that's it. You do a partnership with CBS, and it's on CBS, and it's on TUDN, English-Spanish, Friday night game of the week.
And what that also does is that it helps trim your production costs if you're CBS and TUDN in this current landscape. And if you partner it together, then you're both investing in it, but you're not investing as much as if you did something separately.
Yeah, it absolutely could. Maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe a partnership like that could be the way. Okay, we've solved the problem, so there you go. That's what's going to happen in 2023 and beyond. Thank you.
Just make sure that we're apart.
Lots of stuff. Chris Ashley is very excited about some news with one of his players at Leeds United, Calvin Phillips, being called up to the English national team. It's exciting. It's good. He's been really fun to watch his development under Bielsa, and he gets the call up. Phil Foden, Mason Greenwood, Harry Maguire also get call ups, according to the BBC. One other thing about Leeds, and I'm sure Chris Ashley's talking about this. This was maybe a little bit more of a soccer over there thing, but Guillaume Balage says that negotiations between Valencia and Leeds have started for Rodrigo. Director of football Victor Orta and the chairman are in Valencia. They're looking for an agreement, talking like 30 to 35 million euro kind of fee. So that would be that'd be a big move for Leeds. That would be that forward that I think they desperately need. And you add a couple other pieces here and there, I'm liking the 10th place target even more.
Yeah, that's where my gut tells me they could be, 10 to 12. They'll be out of that. They'll be out of that group in the bottom third that we always want to talk about, because I think you get a key player here and there, you're instantly better than West Ham, than Villa, than Crystal Palace, and West Brom and Fulham. So that instantly puts you at 14th. And so then it's just that group right there in the middle of things that where you're jostling for position.
There is a funny one from an outlet, Cuatro, based in Spain, that Manchester United is preparing their push to bring Lionel Messi in. Everybody's going to prepare a push out of the teams that can do it, and Manchester United would be a team that could find a way to afford it. It's United, it's City, it's PSG. That's really it. I think Inter would have to rob a bank. I don't know how they pull it off.
Some money.
Yeah, I think it's a small list, but if he's gonna walk, then things could get really weird. So keep an eye on that nonsense. Sean Vergara says Juicebox on Leeds to win the league. Ooh, that's a really stinky old rotten juice box I'd be putting on that one. It wouldn't be something I'd want back.
That's a cucumber juice box that has been hanging out in the back of the fridge.
Yeah, that's kind of madness. I don't even know if Chris Ashley would go into that one. It's going to be weird. Adam says next summer, Adam from 816, next summer is going to have a lot of international soccer. This next year is going to be chaos around the world. MLS's calendar will be affected, but not too much. You look at teams, some of the top players, like Harry Kane, like Harry Maguire. I mean, these guys who are going to be playing in European competition. They're going to be playing, in the cup competition for their club. They're going to be playing league that is a short break and then a condensed schedule to get finished at a normal time, because next summer you got the European Championships, you got Copa America. Some Club World Cup is going to get squeezed in somewhere, kind of. You've got the Olympics. You've got all of that. You can't really back any of that up again. You got to get those things done. You got the Gold Cup here. And then you've got another year, and then you've got a World Cup after that. You've got World Cup qualifiers you got to make up. You've got Nations League stuff you got to make up. It's going to be absolutely insane worldwide, and players are going to feel the brunt of it. You're going to see more injuries than ever before, in my opinion.
Yeah. The physio staffs are definitely going to be earning their keep in the next calendar year.
It's going to be a very, very bad thing.
Yeah.
Going back to 2-day NA and streaming and all that and broadcast, because this is going to be a big talking point in MLS too as you get closer to 22 and these negotiations can start. Reportedly, according to the last deal, they can't start until a year before the agreement expires, which would be at the end of the 22 season. Chris Ashley said, Twitter certainly has the potential of being much more accessible in terms of access to the matches, but as someone who streams matches on a Roku, it takes a lot to get that up on the TV, if I even can. With the number of Amazon Prime members and the ease of pulling those broadcasts onto your TV, I actually think they would get better numbers. That could be a partnership for 2-day NA as well, is to not go with an English language network partner, but to go with like an Amazon Prime that would produce an English language simulcast. That could be an interesting way to do it as well. Instead of going Twitter or SAP function, just outsource it to Amazon Prime if they want to get in the door. And again, you might be able to share some costs on production and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, Amazon Prime being in the mix would not shock me at all. I think the Seattle move for their local streaming was a little bit of dipping the toe in the water to see what it can be. Amazon, everybody's expected them to come in big on a lot of these TV deals. People expected them to jump in on the Bundesliga deals. They didn't. They're kind of cherry picking here and there what they want to do. If they come in big on a deal, they're going to feel like there's a ton of upside. And there could be with MLS. There absolutely could be. I feel like it's a property that hasn't been properly, televised in a long time. So there's an opportunity there. But they'd have to get it at a number that they think they could make serious money on, or just provide a benefit to their subscribers, which, now it's getting so interesting with Amazon Prime. Like, for example, I get Amazon Prime through my cellular service. I get Amazon Prime free there through my cellular service, through that partnership. I think a lot of people do. So if they're just trying to be global and huge and big, they don't want to spend a ton of money on these kinds of things, and MLS wouldn't be compared to others. I don't know. Maybe it's a fit. I think they're testing it with the Sounders move. I do.
Yep. A couple of thoughts on NYCFC. Daniel Price, would there be a chance they relocate the team?
If they can't get a stadium done, I think they're going to have to, because, you can't play at Yankee Stadium forever. They're not making money playing there. It's not a good product. You move to Citi Field, it's the same thing. Like, there's not another place in the city to do it. They're not going to ever share Red Bull Arena. That's not going to happen because, they should move elsewhere if that's the case. There's nowhere else that I know of. Unless they've got a plan B and a plan C, they're not telling us. Sean Vergara keeps saying Vegas. Maybe they partner with Flamingo. Maybe it becomes Flamingo City Vegas. I have no idea. Vegas had another option too. Vegas had two different groups that were talking about it. Remember, the Lights ownership was working on an initiative to go MLS, and this other one that now we think Flamingo is partnered up with. We'll wait and see. That's an interesting one to me. I'm a little skeptical of it, and City would buy them out of it. City wouldn't want to partner with Flamingo. If they can't get this stadium done and there's not a plan B ready to roll, I think you have to look at potentially relocating. I do. You can't be at Yankee Stadium indefinitely, and you're past the point of the good return you've gotten from them being in the league at this point.
Yeah, John Nason says, suck it up, NYCFC, using the hashtag. He says they need to stay at Red Bull until moving into their own place. Compared to Yankee Stadium, the optics are better, field's the right size, no field reconfigurations are needed every home game.
All that's great for us. It's not great for them building a fan base. It kills their fan base. So I disagree with that because it looks better, but it hurts them when they move into a venue. Then you're starting completely over again, which maybe you can do. I don't know. If you're going to move into a stadium in 23, play at Yankee Stadium in 21 and 22, can make that work. Other than that, yeah, you're going to have some issues. If it's longer, you're going to have some issues. But I think it would hurt their fan base too much to play at Red Bull indefinitely. I do.
Bartimus Prime's in this morning, and he says NYCFC got lucky last night.
They did. I mean, they absolutely did. They played better. They were better than they were against Red Bulls, but they got a gift, and they took advantage of it. That's luck, for sure. There's nothing wrong with that. They've got to be better. They've got to continue to get better, but sometimes you need that luck to get going, and we'll see. Columbus, they made a big mistake, and they got punished for it. They're not a bad team by any stretch, but they are going to have to figure out how they replace Wormhor, because if Keita is going to make these issues that cost them games, you can't turn to him yet. He's a young player. You've got to figure out if he's good enough. You got to play him, but if he's hurting you, you can't play him. And that's the problem. That's the hard part with young players. That's that risk-reward situation.
And Bart says, with a question to the floor using the hashtag MLS is whack, he says, which is more important this MLS season, winning your home matches or finding points on the road?
I don't know if it really matters for either one, to be honest, because I don't think it has the feel of a typical home and away yet. I want to see, once we get a little bit deeper into this phase, what the effects of travel day of are going to be. So far, I mean, has it really had an effect? Not much. I mean, we'll go back to the Nashville games in Dallas, because that was kind of the start of this. Let me get out of MLS's back 1 second. So Nashville got 4 points out of 6 on the road. Toronto, Red Bulls, Columbus, all won at home, all got clean sheets. New England, Philadelphia, Cincinnati, DC, clean sheets, but no wins. Kansas City won on the road. Galaxy won on the road, but it's crosstown. It's not really on the road. Real Salt Lake dominated on the road. Seattle won on the road. Maybe it's typical. NYC won at home. Maybe right now it's about what it normally is, with a slightly better record on the road than usual. Maybe. It's very small sample size. Let's see after this week what it looks like. If the lack of fans in most places is counteracted by game day travel, and that does create the home field advantage because teams are more tired, then it's going to be getting points on the road in general. That will be the answer to Bart's question. If we're seeing better results on the road, then I don't know if it really matters. I think it's just points everywhere you can get points.
Yeah, Joey Logan says finding road points is his answer because even draws help.
That's always the answer. I'm just curious to see, because no fans in the building. We saw it in the Bundesliga, and they traveled normally. They didn't travel day of the game, but we saw that home field advantage was pretty much nobody cared. Yep. Now you're adding game day travel, which can create an advantage for the team that's not traveling day of. So maybe it's counteracted that way. I agree with Joey in general, but let's see how the road teams fare over the next week before we completely and utterly lock that answer in.
Rich was listening to yesterday's Austin FC Love Fest, I guess.
Yeah, I like Austin. I like what they're doing.
He says, does that mean we're sold on Josh Wolf as a head coach?
No.
And what happens to Austin Bold, who have the best stadium in USL at the Circuit of the Americas track?
Austin Bold is I don't know. I don't know what happens with them. I'd love to see them partner and continue with Austin Bold as the second team in some way. I don't know if the Austin Bold ownership would want to go down that road. I'm not completely against having a USL team and an MLS team in the same city that are not the same. Charlotte's going to have this issue with Independence and Charlotte FC as well, so we'll have to see how that works. I'm not against it. You can create a niche kind of fan base in USL Championship that is the alternative. I think you do need to probably have some understandings of, hey, let's not schedule games on the same day because that's stupid and we're hurting each other and that's dumb. Let's try to stay away from each other in terms of home games. Let's try to stay away from each other as best we can, although it won't happen every weekend. If one team's away, then the other team's at home, but don't play at the same time, stuff like that. If you can work hand in hand and have an understanding of who's who, it could be okay. Josh Wolf, I'm not sold on him being a head coach yet. He hasn't been one. So, I mean, it's not a knock on Josh Wolf. We just haven't seen him in that role. I've always said I think it's really hard for a first-time manager in an expansion team because you don't have the things that you're used to at a normal club. You're figuring all that out. They're doing all the right things so far. It looks like they're going to give him a really good roster to work with, but we've never seen him do that job. So I'm not sold on him yet. I think he has the potential to be a good manager, but we have to see him do it first. There's just no way around it.
Chris Hutchison's in with a couple of thoughts this morning. After hearing my read on Apolinski and Associates,
yes,
he reminds me that a leap year is really that the year is actually 365 and a quarter days long because of the rotation of the planet.
Okay.
So it's actually a quarter. It's 365 and a quarter. So,
but it's an extra day.
So maybe he was applying it to leap year. So it wasn't 366. It's 365 and a quarter.
No, you don't have February 29th for a quarter of the day. I think
have 6 hours.
We're catching up on the leap year with the extra day. But yes, every year is technically 365 and a quarter. Okay. We're just giving the extra day on 1 year out of the 4.
And then he is in a store that actually has a juice box section.
Okay. They're called grocery stores, John. They have those.
But I've never seen literally a juice box sign.
What?
In a grocery store. I've never seen a juice box literally as a part of the aisle. And Chris Hutchison has found
they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
Thank you, Dennis.
I don't know. It just felt appropriate.
So, apparently Chris is in a grocery store that has a juice box section, but it doesn't look like they have actual juice boxes there. It's like boxes for juice as opposed to juice boxes. So he's confused me.
What are you talking about?
Go to the Twitter timeline. Seriously. I want you to watch. Go to this because it looks like what they've done is this particular grocery store has put juice boxes in with tissues and garbage bags. So I'll retweet this on the Soccer Down Here Twitter timeline. It just looks like that
those are juice boxes, John. What are you talking about?
I don't see
you see Mott's.
Oh, okay. Does it look like there were garbage bags on top? Okay.
John.
Okay.
John.
So there you go. I didn't see any. Please have a naughty option somewhere in the chain. And Chris admits that he says if not for this show, he'd never have been looking for juice boxes.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, everybody else. What's next?
A couple thoughts on Miami.
Okay.
As a reminder, tonight at 7 o'clock, it's the run-up. Yes?
Yes, it is.
So, first thought from Jason Nix. Was Miami that much better against Orlando, or was Orlando playing worse? A little of both, and then he has other questions.
A little of both. Miami was better. Orlando wasn't at the same level they were in some of the knockout games down in the MLS's back tournament. But Miami was better. Julian Carranza was good up top. I thought Luis Morgan, Rodolfo Pizarro, Matias Pellegrini, really good interplay between those three. They also dropped off a little bit more, and it's something that Pizarro talked about yesterday in their media availability. They weren't pressing up quite as high, and it worked better for them. So don't expect them against Atlanta to bomb forward and be pressing Atlanta's back line a ton, but they'll create a mid-block and try to press in the middle third more and create turnovers there. That worked better for them in this one, so I'd expect they'd do the same thing here. They were better. They were definitely better, but Orlando wasn't at its top level.
So then what's their biggest threat against us on Wednesday?
That movement for me. That movement, especially in a back line that's going to be missing probably Meza and definitely Escobar, and Robinson's 90-minute fitness is questionable. So that movement up top is what worries me. Defensively, I think they can be had. Orlando had them a couple of times. We saw it in the tournament as well. LGP makes them better, but defensively, they're a little soft. They're pressing in the middle third. More importantly, their movement up top is what worries me. I think they're going to create some overloads and give Atlanta problems.
Then his last question is, and you mentioned LGP. So Jason Nix wants to know, how do we leverage LGP's bad hair to our advantage?
I mean, it's a little blinding. Maybe if you can turn it to where he blinds Luis Robles on a shot a little bit, push him and where it gets in the way, something might distract Luis Robles. I don't know. LGP in Miami is really different than he was here in the sense I mentioned earlier about his work in possession and how he was on the ball a lot in that back line in the build-up play. You'd normally see him with 70 passes a game in Atlanta, 60 to 70 throughout his time here. He had 21 passes. They do not build up out of the back. They want to get into the midfield as fast as possible and play through Trapp and play through Ulloa. So he's not going to be on the ball as much. He's going to have to be more of kind of a old-school center back a little bit more in that team. Win it and get rid of it quick or just defend. And is he going to be worth as much money in that kind of role? We'll find out. I'm a little questionable of that. I think they need to keep the ball a little bit more to be at their top level. But right now they're playing very, off the ball, great in transition. Get forward with Lewis Morgan, who's going to put in crosses more than anybody else in the team, almost more than anybody else in the league. And other than that, you're looking for interplay with Pellegrini, with Ulloa, with Pizarro, and now you've got a forward in Carranza who's got a couple goals under his belt. Miami's still incomplete until they get the number 9 or they settle on Carranza and use that money elsewhere. I still don't know what they're actually going to be yet, but right now they're better than they were. I'll give them that. LGP makes them better defensively, but they're not exactly playing to his strengths.
Breaking news sounder, please.
Okay.
Brian Strauss at SI.com is reporting St. Louis FC will shut down at the conclusion of the 2020 season. According to a source with knowledge of the plans, the club's owner, Worldwide Technology CEO, and former St. Louis University player Jim Cavanaugh is a minority investor in the city's incoming MLS team, St. Louis City. City plans to begin playing at a new downtown stadium in 2023. St. Louis FC's departure will leave the market without pro soccer for 2 years. The USL club was obligated to inform the league office by the end of August whether it would be playing in 2021.
Yeah, this was expected because they're not a team that's really made a lot of money, period. I think you maybe could have continued because you're not going to have pro soccer for a couple of years there while St. Louis City gets started. You would have needed some help to do that because I don't think it would have been financially viable. In a non-pandemic time, would you have considered it? Possibly. Right now, you've probably lost so much money that it doesn't make a lot of sense to throw more money, down the drain because you're going to have an MLS team in your market. And if you've already made that decision that we're not going to compete, well, that's where you're at. It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise at all. It kind of felt like the writing was on the wall at the end of last season.
When contacted by SI on Tuesday, a St. Louis FC spokesperson said, quote, "The ownership decided with the financial impact of COVID-19 and MLS on the horizon, it didn't make sense to continue operations," end quote.
No, it doesn't. It's not financially viable. It does not make sense for that to happen.
Tafka says he worries about the Austin Bold and Austin FC issue. He says, "I'd really like to see a heavy affiliation system, but I don't know if Reina will be comfortable giving up so much autonomy for development of older youth and prospects."
You don't necessarily have to. It depends on how you structure the relationship. But the biggest thing is the Austin Bold ownership would have to accept that. And they've not been antagonistic, but they have been pretty consistent in being independent. So, for Austin Bold, for Charlotte Independence, what does it look like for them long term? I don't know. It can be done, but I think you have to accept what you are. And I think this was always a problem for the Atlanta Silverbacks. And this was before Atlanta United came in. And I saw this firsthand over the years, and they were around for a long time in two different phases. It's hard to be a team. Minor league gets thrown around as a negative, but you're not in the top flight league, and the Silverbacks weren't in the top flight league. They were playing in a small venue. St. Louis did that. Austin did that, going to be compared to the big stadium they're building. Charlotte does that, even with the move to Memorial and what that's going to be for them. You're playing in a lesser league and in a smaller stadium than the big team in town or the other big teams in other sports in town. You have to work harder to create a community feel around it. You have to kind of accept who you are. If Austin Bold, if Charlotte Independence kind of accept that, hey, we're the smaller team, we're also going to spend less. We're not going to expect to draw 30,000 people. We're going to expect a smaller but more rabid fan base maybe because we are very community-driven. You can find it. I mean, we see it in cities around the world where you have big teams and little teams. It can happen. It's not something that smaller teams have really accepted well in this country before, and I hope it's something that, the Austin Bold can and Charlotte Independence can. But they have to decide, and St. Louis has to decide, are your fans going to stick with you, even if they go to MLS games in your town? Are they going to stick with you and support you and stand by you, or are they going to go to the big team in town and not come out to see you as much? If you can't keep your base, you really can't keep going. And St. Louis is a unique one because you've got an owner who's a minority owner in the MLS team. He's not going to do anything that could potentially hurt the MLS team by having a competitor. There you go. I will be curious to see what St. Louis does on the youth side because they've had a great youth system in St. Louis for a long time, and St. Louis FC was part of that in the relationship. So I want to see what that looks like. Does that just all fold into St. Louis City? Perhaps. It's hard. If Austin Bold and if Charlotte Independence wanted to accept giving control, hold on. Let me see if this is valid. We'll come back to that. If you want to give up some control on the technical side, because Tafka's point is correct, like you're not going to give up to an independent team control over developing your players. If you want to do like the Rio Grande Valley situation where you give up the technical control to not the parent club, but the partnering club that is bigger than you, okay. And then you're handling the marketing, you're selling the tickets, et cetera, et cetera. That could be a relationship that could work in these situations. The smaller team would have to accept that.
And we are caught up on Twitter, sir. What else is on your mind?
All kinds of different things going on. This doesn't get breaking news. I don't even know what news this gets. It's a weird one.
Okay.
Mentioned Lionel Messi and what's going to happen with his future. A reporter, Rasha Al-Aqidi, from Afghanistan, 72,000 followers. Name is pronounced Russia. Sorry. Editor in charge of what I don't know the outlet. Is saying that Lionel Messi is expected to announce he's leaving Barcelona today. Okay. That's not outrageous. I mean, that's been talked about. On TIC, I'm looking at it right now. It's imminent, an announcement of Messi. Gonzalo Higuain's leaving Juventus. It's craziness today, but reportedly you're going to get an announcement from Lionel Messi about his future coming up very soon, and this person that I've never seen break soccer news is saying that Messi's out at Barca, and where he goes, who knows. So, yeah, it's one of those days.
Yeah, that's one way to talk about it. That it's one of those days. Because ESPN.com last night when we were talking on soccer over there. But I mean, it's only a limited number of clubs that can handle. I mean, obviously, with the release clause is 700 million euro, but it won't be that much. But if let's just say he wants to go, I mean, you could probably put on one hand the number of teams that could pay the freight to make this happen.
Well, you're leaving a part out, though. If he wants to go somewhere, he can take less money.
Yeah.
He ain't hurting for money. Now, the question will be what Barcelona allows him to do or does. I think, and Tesco's saying the same thing, and I'm with him. Tesco says Barca's got to let him go.
Yeah.
Barca would look awful at a time where they need to look good if they said, well, yeah, we're going to have that release clause of 700 million euro, or at a minimum, we're going to have 500 million euro for him. No, they should, as a thank you for everything he has done for that club, say free transfer. You can go wherever you want. We owe that to you. We hope that you'll come home one day and come back to us when your career is over, and we can have the celebration for you that you deserve, but we are going to let you go wherever you want to go right now because you are owed that. It's going to help them because it's going to take his salary off their books, and they need that in a big way. Bernd Erzberger says he will take less money to play for a Champions League contender. I agree. I think he'll take wherever he thinks he can play at his best, and play in the way he wants to play. He is demanding in that way. Would Pep accept that now at Manchester City with what he has built? Maybe, maybe not. Would Manchester United accept that? Absolutely. Would PSG accept that? Yes. Would Inter, Juve, whoever else? Yes. He wouldn't go to a German club because he doesn't fit in that style of play. He's not going to do the pressing that they're going to need. We'll see. Jason Nick says free transfer, question. I would do that if I'm Barcelona because I think the goodwill that you would get out of it is necessary, and more importantly, you get a salary off your books. Sean Vergara is wanting an Alex Pacine news sounder because he breaks news all the time. We'll have to work on that. I need to check his sources.
Yeah, Pacine can help us out with suggestions, too.
Yeah, well, I need to check on his sources. He hasn't got a sounder just yet.
Okay.
Es eminente el anuncio de Messi. So, I mean, we're waiting on Lionel Messi to say what he's going to do. This is craziness today. It's going to change the landscape in Europe. If he goes to a City, if he goes to a United, if he goes to PSG, somehow if he goes to Inter, Tesco says Inter has the money. I don't think they do. I don't know where they have it, if that's the case. Sean Vergara saying Messi to Leeds. People have said that. Like
Chris Ashley.
No, people have said that, but he's not gonna do what Bielsa wants him to do. He can't at this point. He doesn't have that physically. He needs to be a guy who's on the ball at the end of plays or playing as an enganche, number 10, a playmaker. He doesn't have the same speed. He doesn't have the same stamina that he did when he was younger. He's 33. I mean, that's to be expected. I think the number one thing for Messi is to be in good form for the 2022 World Cup. I think that's the number one thing driving him, and he'll be in good form by playing at a top club that can win Champions League. I think those two go hand in hand, but he's got to be in a place that he is comfortable. He is demanding. He's earned the right to be demanding. He's the best player of modern times, in my opinion. But he's not going to go play for somebody that he doesn't have a good relationship with, or that he doesn't enjoy, or that he doesn't get along with, or that's going to ask him to do things that he's not comfortable doing. He's going to go somewhere that he's going to enjoy. Burns says Bartomeu needs Messi to say he wants to leave. And I agree with that. Bartomeu, the president of Barcelona, can't come out and say, we're going to let Messi go just to get rid of him. We're going to sell him. Bartomeu can't play it that way.
Yeah.
Messi has to make the first move, and it sounds like that's what could be happening today. They need his salary off their books in a massive, massive way. Maybe it's a free transfer. Maybe it's a player swap. Byrne throws that out there. I think that's a good idea. Ricky and Adam both say the same thing, but this doesn't necessarily apply. Like they both say, will it matter? Argentina has so many issues. Does Argentina have enough to win in 22? None of that really matters at this point to Lionel Messi. He's got to go for it one more time. That is the missing crown in his trophy case. He will always, in Argentina, right or wrong, and I think it's wrong, he will always be compared negatively to Diego Maradona because he didn't win the World Cup. He hasn't won a World Cup. And that's not fair. Messi's had a far better career than Maradona because he didn't get addicted to drugs and wasn't completely insane. Maradona had an amazing run that I don't know if it can ever be matched in carrying Argentina to a title in '86 and carrying Napoli to Serie A dominance when Napoli was barely a first division club when he got there. Messi has not been in that situation, but Messi over a long time period has been the best player in the world, but he doesn't have a World Cup. So he's got to put everything into that. Does it give them a chance to win? I mean, they'll have a chance because they have talent, and they'll have talent in 22, and they'll be in the mix. Are they a favorite? No. But he's got to go for it. He's got to put everything towards that. That is his last opportunity to do it, and he's got to try to make it happen. Ricky Ricardo is 100% correct. Messi will not have a better documentary made about him. That's true, although I would like to see Messi in the Last Dance kind of scenario with, if he's got his mate or if he sips on something. I don't know. I don't know if Messi sips
Pepsi.
on, whiskey or whatever. I don't think he's sipping on Pepsi. Whatever he's sipping on, if he likes a cigar, whatever, it's like the Last Dance, and have him talk about all the people he played with and all the situations. And if Messi wants to talk a little bit of trash at that point, I'd be down. It'd be great. But no, it will not be as good as the Maradona documentary because Messi's life has not been absolute, complete, and utter chaos. That's probably why he's been a better player. Sean's asking about a presser scheduled for today. Not that I have seen, and I don't know if Messi would do a press conference about it. I think it would be probably just a statement issued. Yeah. Who knows? It might just be kind of breaking news kind of stuff in general. It might not be a big story that way with a press conference and all that. I don't know. We'll keep you posted and what we see. We'll figure that out. I thought this was something else, but it's not. What else is going on Twitter before we wrap up on the Twitch pitch?
We're caught up on Twitter, and we do still have juice boxes for tonight's games.
Okay. We will finish on... Let's go with the juice boxes first on tonight's games.
Okay. Once again, this is not from BetMGM. This is from our composite that we have at our friends at Odds Portal. 7 o'clock, DC United and the New England Revolution. DC plus 181, New England plus 152, and your draw option plus 231.
DC's at home. DC can't score goals. New England hasn't exactly been great figuring their stuff out either. They're really missing heel. Draw.
7:30, Chicago FC Cincinnati. Chicago at home, minus 167. FC Cincinnati plus 459, and your draw is plus 304.
Cincinnati. I love that number. That's a crazy number because Chicago has not exactly been good. I don't know if Cincinnati wins it, but that's a number that's good enough to get a juice box from me.
Okay, so would you go with the draw option at 304?
No, Cincinnati to win.
Okay. The other game at 7:30, Philadelphia and Red Bulls. Philadelphia plus 141, the Red Bulls plus 187, your draw plus 249.
I think Philadelphia gets it done, but they were a little disappointing last time out. Red Bulls was pretty good, and they went to the 4-2-3-1. Oh, Rich Ransom, I don't want to go draw here, but I'm kind of tempted to. I'm going to keep my belief in Philadelphia. I think they win.
Okay. Nick has said Chicago-Cincinnati is a 1-1 draw, and he's taking Philly as well.
Yeah.
8 o'clock. Montreal and Vancouver. Montreal minus 145. Vancouver plus 396, and your draws at plus 290.
Draw. I think Montreal is not what they need to be right now, and Vancouver is mad about being embarrassed and has been on the road for a long period of time. They'll be fired up. They'll get a draw.
8:30, Sporting and Houston Dynamo. Sporting minus 179. Houston plus 462.
Oof.
And your draw is at plus 325.
I like some Dynamo, but I don't like them in this case. I would not put any juice boxes near it because Sporting Kansas City will win.
One game in the USL Championship. Vegas hosting Orange County SC. Orange County is minus 112. Vegas is plus 234.
I mean, you have to take Vegas with a big number, right?
Yeah.
I'll pick the draw on that one. It'll be stupid, like 3-3.
Plus 264.
Yeah, I'll take that.
There you go. That's your juice boxes composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal.
Adam from 816 said, is Sporting going to be the UCF of the MLS season? Most teams within travel distance aren't good. That's a good point. They're going to get some bounce from that. They're going to play teams around them that have not been good. That should help them. They're in first place in the Western Conference by 4 points over Seattle and Minnesota. I think they're a better team than that, Adam. I've been backing your Kansas City boys for a while now. I like in the West Kansas City and Portland the most in terms of being teams that can win MLS Cup. Those are the two teams that have jumped out to me. LAFC's right behind them. If Vela's out for an extended period of time, forget it. Seattle always does this thing where they're not good early and then they get better. This is a weird year. Does that happen? We'll find out. Minnesota, if they get Reynoso, which he's in Minnesota, medical quarantine, all the different things going on. If he elevates them, then maybe we have a different conversation about the Loons. But I think Sporting is a slight step ahead of Portland at the moment in terms of quality in the West, even with the goofy schedule that they're going to get advantage of.
Nick says Montreal wins 1-0, Sporting wins 2-0, and Vegas wins 3-2.
All right. Burned asked if we've rewatched the Atlanta United 2 game yet. I have not had time to watch it yet. I've been trying to catch up on Miami and Orlando. It's the hard thing about the schedule right now because we haven't seen Miami, we haven't seen Orlando directly. Like I had my Nashville notes that needed to be updated, which was a process, but a little bit easier one. Miami and Orlando building out from scratch. So I've been so deep in the weeds on that I haven't been able to jump back into that 2's game. 2-1 on the road to Tampa Bay. I mean, the final result's not a bad one at all. Tampa Bay is the top team in this group, no question about it. You get a late penalty that Goodrum converts, so that makes it 2-1. It was 2-0 up to that point. It's not a shock. Center back is the biggest issue, and now you've got the injury issues with the first team. I thought for sure you would see somebody loaned down to the 2's this week, but I don't know if you can afford to do that at the moment with Meza questionable going forward with the knee injury and Robinson not 100% fit. At least coming into the weekend, he wasn't. So I think you need to hold on to Campbell and Wyke for right now. I'd love to get Lawrence Wyke with Atlanta United 2 to get those games, or Campbell, either one, to get games right now. And the 2's need some help there, but I just don't know if you can necessarily afford it with the questions on the back line for the first team. And that's the hard part about being a young player and being in that in-between step. But they're needed right now with the first team. I'd love to see one of them get minutes with the second team soon, and that would help the 2's a lot.
Next game for the 2's is on the 2nd, so they have a little time to rest up after this crush of games that they've had, and it's a trip to Philly to take on Philadelphia Union 2 on the 2nd of September.
Maybe that'll give them a little bit of time to get Nielsen 100%. Just get everybody back up to speed. Morales, who played a little bit more than maybe he was ready for. You just want to get those guys ready to go. Maybe you won't need that loan. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It's tricky at the moment on both sides of it. Couple drink suggestions for Lionel Messi for his Last Dance documentary, and I can't believe I didn't think of it. Katie Weaver with the Fernet y Coke, which is kind of a given for an Argentine. I'm mad at myself for not thinking of it, and now I'd like to have some Fernet and Coke for tonight's games, to be honest. I might have to go make a run to the store. Other things, Ricky says, I'd love to see a documentary on 1986 to now for the Argentine Federation. That would be fueled by Fernet and Coke. It would be fueled by lots of things. It would be an absolute mess. But, yeah, I would like to see that. I'd like to see a documentary, or you could even do a based on the book story. Maradona's book about the '86 World Cup that he wrote is a great read. It's a short book. It's an easy read, and just telling the inside stories of how that team came together and what they did preparing for that World Cup. I would like to see something made from that. And most of those guys are still with us, so you could do that now as a documentary if you could get Maradona to sit down long enough to talk about it. But at least you have the book to go on with his statements there. It's a good read. I recommend it. I'd like to see something based off of that. I think that's about it. I'll make a last call on the Twitch pitch for anything else you guys would like to throw in. Mention the next Tuesday game. Waiting on the Mesa stuff. Abby is. Burns says, I'd like to see Wolf go down to the twos to give Coleman Gannon a break. I agree. He's another one who needs games. He's getting the training with the first team right now, which is good. I'd like to see him get games. Abby says they're going to need to have some indoor practices or wet practices over the next 4 or 5 days. That is accurate. Sean wants you to clip my woo sounder from the Pitti goal and use that as the Alex Pacine news sounder. It was a pretty good one. I got a little excited about that goal.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie.
Understandable, though.
I saw it coming too. I think the clip that the team used on their clip that came out last night that it has radio and TV calls on it. I think they synced it up to where it looked like I was
They
more.
slid your audio to match.
No, that's what I'm saying. They slid it to make it look like I was predicting the goal a little bit more than I was. Like I saw it coming, and I think like right as he hit it, I immediately squealed. Because I could see what was happening with this. It lined up for us perfectly. Like I'm behind it as it's happening. So I see the ball being dropped. I see Pitti coming in with bad intentions to crush it, and he did. So I was very excited and made a squealing noise. It happens sometimes. Just saying. Il Mezzano. I believe you've been with us before, Il Mezzano, and I hope I'm getting that somewhat right. It's all a bunch of letters as I'm like glancing down, like Il Mezzano. Atlanta United 2, can they not voluntarily, or could they, I guess, voluntarily follow the stricter MLS protocols for testing to facilitate transfers back and forth? They could, but I don't think it's necessarily just testing more. I think the way the two organizations do their testing, like MLS couldn't accept an outside lab's tests. And I don't know if USL does. USL, I think, should. And that would make it a little bit easier. They should accept an MLS team's MLS lab results.
Yeah.
This stuff's a little bit beyond us. We don't know how all this is working in the background. But everybody has said around the league that these types of moves are very difficult at the moment. We're just not seeing them. So I'm assuming there is something along those lines that is making that difficult. They could test the same, and I would assume that they are testing more than a normal USL team is because you have the access to it. But I don't know if that necessarily solves the protocol issue. That's the issue, at least from my understanding. Fourcard asks if Barco can play right wing, and he can. I think he can play anywhere on that front three in terms of the midfield in a 4-3-3. Not as the 9, as the 10 behind it, or on the left wing or on the right wing. He can play any of those. Pitti could play on the right too if you wanted to. If you felt like you want to play Mulroney, but he's more comfortable on the left, you could move Pitti over to the right and have him come in. He's going to have freedom to go wherever he is. It's just down to how you want to handle it. I guess there's a truck trying to back up outside my window.
I didn't know if that was somebody's alarm that was going off or what.
No, I guess a moving truck or something. And no, you can stop backing up.
You got plenty of space.
Oy. Ricky Ricardo says that no, he would go back old school for the Ezequiel Barco sounder, the Barco watch sounder for Pacine's move. And you might have that buried somewhere. I think you made it.
Yeah, I'll have to check. I'll have to check my Barco sounders in the library.
That one scared me.
I did not know that Fernetti Coke was a hangover cure.
Sure. I mean, any alcohol is a hangover cure for people who are hungover and want to drink again. It's called the hair of the dog.
Yeah, Food52.com has this 2-ingredient cocktail is Argentina's most popular hangover cure, and it's Fernetti Coke.
Tesco says, I love how you can hear Pitti scream, Mo, calling for the pass. That was cool. Hutcho, I did woo before Mike screamed. Hutcho talking about my reaction to Pitty's goal. I did. I think it might have shocked Mike a little bit because I saw it coming. Like, I definitely did. I didn't see it coming on the pass. I mean, this is all split-second stuff. Like, I saw it coming probably as Pitty's swinging his foot into it. No, because we've seen him put those over. Maybe I saw it coming after it came off of his boot. And again, it's split-second stuff. But I definitely reacted right before Mike did because I saw it happening. But it wasn't as early as the video that our friend Mikey Alfano put out for the team, which I love the way he puts that stuff together. I love the edits he does with it. He made me look like I was absolutely predicting it. So thank you, Mikey. Yes. I was not predicting it that much.
Yeah, Mikey and that staff do some amazing work, and they've been recognized for it. And they really, I mean, I would sit there and scream from the mountaintops about how well they do their stuff. I just sit there and name them all out. But Mikey Alfano and that entire staff do some tremendous work.
Okay, this doesn't get breaking news, that's for sure.
Okay.
I think it's going to get our work in progress sounder from the Twitch pitch, if I could find it, because of course I can't find something that I need straight away.
Right.
Glancing, trying to find it. There we go. Chris Ashley says, McDonald's is launching their spicy nuggets. He needs your bad food takes on it.
Well, for me, I can't remember the last time I actually went to a McDonald's to eat.
Why are you anti-Golden Arches?
Because their fries are too salty, and I got sick one time.
You got sick from salty fries?
Yes, absolutely. They had put entirely too much salt on their fries, and the fries did not last. And ever since that moment, I've been anti-McDonald's.
You got sick from salty fries?
Got sick from salty fries at a McDonald's, yes.
I didn't know that was possible.
Well, I mean, they just absolutely, I mean, I think my guess is that they took the entire shaker and just went on top of the entire bucket and got just absolutely sick as a dog.
Okay. So you're not going to have the spicy nuggets?
I am not going to have the spicy nuggets because of my aversion to McDonald's, no.
Sorry, Chris.
Chris is going to have to come up with the scouting report for us on his own.
I mean, I'd try the spicy nuggets. I don't have an aversion to McDonald's. It's been a long time since I've had chicken nuggets. I usually don't get that there. So I'm intrigued. I'm interested. It could happen. Yeah, it could happen. I might give that a whirl and let you know. But, yeah, I'm not going to go out of my way for it. Let's put it that way.
Patrick Sullivan says he has a bottle of Fernet that you can have. He says that stuff tastes like liquefied potting soil to me.
It's good with Coke, though, and you got to mix it right. Like, I don't like a heavy Fernet Coke. Because it's a taste. It's a taste. It's something. Yeah, I do need to go get some of that, though. I might need a Fernet Coke tonight watching games. That's a good sipping drink.
Sean Vergara has posted a still of what the studio looks like now, and I give you a tremendous amount of credit. That is absolutely gorgeous, sir.
Give Cuppers the credit for the backdrop. Cuppers is the one who came up with it.
But then Cuppers gets credit for the backdrop.
I'm drawing everything else to it, but yes, Cuppers came up with the backdrop.
Strong, Cuppers.
It's good stuff. I'm interested in these spicy nuggets now that I think about it. But
so you're going to get, so it's spicy nuggets and Fernet Coke.
No, that's a bad combination. No, if you're going to have Fernet Coke, you need to have something good with it. I should have had it last night because I did the tapas from Eclipse de Luna last night, and I had steak and chimichurri. I mean, it would have been perfect for Fernet Coke, and I did not do that. So now I'm kicking myself. But I'm not going to get those again because they're a little expensive. I'm not going to do that all the time. That's a little much. I got to think about it. I'm going to have some Fernet Coke soon, though. It's been too long. I think last time was for the Copa Libertadores at the Brewhouse, actually.
That is correct. I was present for that.
Yes, it was good. It was very good. Let's see here. Lots of things. People are saying lunch is set with now the spicy nuggets at McDonald's. I don't know if they're available right this second. It might take a minute. And they might not be available everywhere yet. Abby said, Mike let out a scream that he'd been holding in since we played in Nashville on Pitty's first goal. He did. He was pumped. First goal was really, really good. The second goal was just an explosion of me squealing. People are freaking out about your salty fries. No shock. Ricky says, whoa, end the show, John. We are done.
Why?
People are questioning, is it possible to put too much salt on fries?
Have you been to fast food restaurants?
J-Dub says, doesn't salt kill stuff like germs?
You got me. I'm not a salt person.
KFC's dropping angry-looking face emotes in the Twitch chat. Sean Vergara says, shut it down. Ricky says, end the show. I'm done, John. Fender, hard agree with John's food takes. Abby's out. Sean, McDonald's is trash.
I'm not saying they're trash.
Jason Nix says fries are the best part of McDonald's.
I love, in the days that I would go to that particular restaurant, I would get the double quarter pounder with cheese and not think twice about it.
That's a lot.
And that's what I'm saying. You had to go hungry. Either that or you'd get like 3 or 4 of the hamburgers or 3 or 4 of the single cheeseburgers. But for me, it was always that double quarter pounder with cheese. And that's where I was locked in. But when you get sick from them putting too much salt on an item, you're done. And I can't go back.
I just don't know if that's what made you sick. That's the part that I'm very skeptical of. I've never heard of that.
Too much salt on fries getting you sick?
I've never heard of salt getting anybody sick. Like, not immediately. I know it's not good for you in the long term to eat a whole bunch of salt.
Absolutely immediately got sick.
Yeah, I don't think it's the salt that did it. That doesn't make any sense to me. Sean Vergara asking about a watch party tonight. Not a watch party, but the run-up will be at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
Kelly Francis hosting, getting us ready for Atlanta and Miami tomorrow. 7 o'clock on twitch.tv/soccerdown here and on the app and on the website.
Yes.
Four-Card Ahmed referencing a tweet thread that I shared yesterday that was awesome. Magazine talking about Marcelo Bielsa and his career, and it was, I think, the anniversary of when he came back to manage Newell's, and he talked about his time in Mexico City with Club America, and Bielsa became obsessed with tacos, and all he wanted to talk about was who was going to get the tacos. The quote, you see, Marcelo has been most vocal on the subject of tacos. Where are the best tacos? When are you going to get the tacos? Why aren't you getting the tacos now?
That's awesome.
I mean, if tacos are going to fuel Bielsa's brilliance, I'm in. I'll go get him tacos.
Chris Ashley needs to find some tacos near Elland Road.
Okay. Abby's asking, this is quoting from the Twitch pitch. This is from Abby. Yeah. Remind me of the stripper place to get lunch at to go.
Oh, there you go.
They're not open for lunch. They stay open late, so they sleep in. Magic City Kitchen. You can get it at the place. You can get takeout. You might want to be careful if you're Lou Williams getting caught with pictures. You can get it from Postmates, and you can get it from DoorDash. DoorDash is the other one that has it. They might have expanded by now. I went back for round 2 from Magic City, I guess it was last week, and did the catfish nuggets, and they were amazing. Amazing.
See, I'm just not a catfish person either, so.
You're not an anything person, John. You don't eat. Like, it's crazy. Anything we say, nope, I don't like that. Nope, I don't like salty fries.
Don't like that either.
Nope, don't like that. It's like the Life cereal commercials. You know, you're Mikey, and you don't like anything. But if you like the cereal, then it's like, okay, well, maybe it's okay.
No, I have an allergy to milk.
Why am I not surprised?
A physical allergy, not lactose intolerance. A physical allergy to milk.
Why am I not surprised?
I mean, my face instantly turns into like a 12-year-old's if I have anything with milk in it.
Yeah. On that note, because the Twitch pitch has exploded with all of this madness, they're exploding again. I'd like to eat some lunch.
I would too.
Burned asked how much money did Lou Williams make for Magic City Kitchen? A lot. A lot. I give them so much credit for going the delivery route and doing that with their food and being ready to jump on that. Mm-hmm. That was a brilliant move, and the food is really good. So highly recommended ordering from Magic City Kitchen. And yes, I am all in on that. I just got nothing. Yeah, adios mio. Absolutely. Mezzano. Absolutely. That's going to do it for today. We'll be back in the morning for SDH, and we'll get you ready on a game day edition. We will have, it appears to be a recorded conversation with Doug Robertson in the morning. We'll have Mike Conti on in the morning as well. Doug is speaking to a college class in the morning, and we want Doug to inspire the next generation. So Doug will be with us via recorded tape. It's not tape anymore. It's new school, but you know what I mean. That'll be in the morning at 9. We'll have the run-up tonight at 7, and Kelly and John will be hosting that one, getting us ready for Atlanta and Miami. Kelly will come with the big question of the day, and we will need your answers to it. So you need to be watching on Twitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. You need to be listening, if you can't watch, on the app on soccerdownhere.net. You can also listen later and share your answers to the big question of the day then if you need to as well. But we'd love to have you join us and join the conversation this evening. If you want one of the Peachtree Post scarves, you better get it now. They are going fast. There's only a handful left in the pre-order. They're $20. Shipping is included. It is a thank you to the OGs, and there are less than, I think we're down to less than 15 now. So we should be getting them in the next 2 to 3 weeks. You want to get one? I don't think we're going to have any available after we get them. I think they're all going to go before that. So $20, send us a message. We'll tell you where to point that payment to, and there you go. Run up tonight at 7. There's been questions about programming grid in general. Run up tonight at 7. Show tomorrow at 9. Then I'm on with Midday Show tomorrow at 1:20 with Andy and Randy. I think Andy's back. And then stoppage time tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And then tomorrow we are on the radio for an hour of pregame. We come on at 7 o'clock. Game will kick off just after 8. We'll have the full-time report from 10, whenever the final whistle happens, 10-ish to 11-ish. So long day tomorrow. Getting ready for Atlanta and Miami, then Atlanta and Miami, and then we're back on Thursday. That's a lot of stuff. Write it down. I needed to, too. We'll be back for a run-up at 7. Y'all have a good one. Enjoy your lunch with your spicy nuggets. Mucho plati, y'all.
Mucho plati, y'all.